Hello, viewers. My name is Zach Hardy. Okay. Hello, viewers. My name is Zach Hardy, and this is the USW Call to Greatness 11 review. I know this is late. I know that it was supposed to go out this past Monday. It's now Friday, but I've had a lot on my plate since then. I had court on Tuesday. I had more appointments over Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Today I was able to get some time in. And I'm here now to give my live USW Call to Greatness 11 review on all 18 matches and kind of give my thoughts and reactions on each and every match that took place, their match result, whatever happened, and kind of look forward to the future. Today, I'll also probably be putting out a USW Wednesday Night Intensity review from the 27th of February. Yeah. April. God damn, of April. And I'm also probably going to be doing a WWE Payback preview, along with an announcement video for a new Unitard series that the video will probably be up in a bit, but it's probably going to start soon. It's going to have like the production value of this, etc., but it's not going to be as heavily focused on like the 10 things USW wants to be at. But it's called the Unitards Wrestling Grand Prix, and the UWGP for short. And I'll touch on that in a later video. But today we look at Call to Greatness 11 in its entirety, kind of run down everything. And before we get started, one quick plug: if you have any questions for me to answer on the Hardiac Wrestling Pod, no, not on the Hardiac Questions and Answers series, either send them to unitards@gmail.com. Again, that's unitards with two Z's at the end @gmail.com. You can send them to me on Twitter @ZacharySarah. Or you can leave them in the comments below on this YouTube video or any other YouTube video that you would like. I'll probably end up getting notified of it, and I'll answer them in a future episode of the Hardiac Questions and Answer series. So, without further ado, excuse me, let's get into Call to Greatness 11. So Call to Greatness 11 had 18 matches, which turned out to be a bit of a hassle in total. It kind of proved more of a challenge than of a working idea. I like the fact that they've kind of changed up their pay-per-view ways, and they've kind of gone a more traditional way. They eliminated the Key and Case pay-per-view and put the Key and Case match at Call to Greatness, kind of like what WWE did with Money in the Bank being at WrestleMania, before moving it to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view and having its own separate pay-per-view. But at 18 matches, the 18 matches were all pretty good for the exception of one. But for the most part, it was a better wrestling show than WrestleMania, WrestleMania 32. It was probably the greatest wrestling show USW has put on in a long time. And I know a lot of people are starting to kind of compare this to Call to Greatness 9 and Call to Greatness 10 and try to determine which was the best Call to Greatness of all time. And I'm just going to give you my personal opinion. Call to Greatness 10 is a close third in this case scenario. Call to Greatness 11 and 9 are in the top two. If you're looking for overall hype value and overall value in general, Call to Greatness 9 was the best, or is still the best Call to Greatness pay-per-view of all time. If you're looking for the better wrestling Call to Greatness pay-per-view, then Call to Greatness 11 is the greatest Call to Greatness pay-per-view of all time. It's all dependent on what you're looking at and how you are determining your result. Call to Greatness 11 was a much better show wrestling-wise than Call to Greatness 9. Call to Greatness 9 had a great card and everything. The wrestling was on point and everything, but it didn't have the overall features on so many key matches that Call to Greatness 11 had, and Call to Greatness 11 had those matches live up to its name and had great matches for every one of them throughout the night. So Call to Greatness 11 was better than 9 in a wrestling standpoint. However, when you look at overall hype and overall exposure, Call to Greatness 9 stands tall because the whole Zach Hardy versus Morbid storyline that went on for almost a year. You had Majigeta and Lone Wolf for the World Heavyweight title, which is one of the most underrated matches in wrestling history. You had so many great mid card matches, and the kickoff match was great as well. You had James beating BP Fierce. You had the debut of Enigma. It was just great. It was more of a WrestleMania feel, and that's where Cult of Greatness 9 becomes the best pay per view. However, in my opinion, Cult of Greatness 9 is still the greatest Call of Greatness of all time. Call of Greatness 11 is close second. But the reason why it stands tall, in my opinion, is because even though Call of Greatness 11 was a better wrestling show, Call of Greatness 9 was still a great wrestling show. And it had the overall hype and production into it. It felt like a WrestleMania. This felt like a WrestleMania as well. But Call of Greatness 9 felt like a legitimate threat to WrestleMania. This felt like, just like another big wrestling show, but big wrestling show. So after that, a couple keynotes or some keynotes to say. Marcus Felton and Kyle Reese Sr. Marcus Felton and Kyle Reese Sr. were on commentary. A lot of people were, and those are the intensity commentators. A lot of people were hoping for either the intensity and severity commentators to be, kind of together like WWE had with the Raw and SmackDown commentators, or they were hoping that would be Marcus Felton and Kyle Reese Jr. because of, that whole pairing in 2013 through 2014. And a lot of people are also hoping for Kyle Reese Jr. and Kyle Reese Sr. or Kyle Reese Jr. and Martin Reese, kind of like the Severity and Intensity brand. Yeah, but that was that. A couple other thing. Well, another thing. The Pretty Reckless was the theme song. Well, the band Pretty Reckless provided the theme song for Call of Greatness 11. It was Absolution, which was awesome because they also played that theme song not only to start the night, but also to head into the Dustin Raymond versus Western Light match, because the whole match video package for Dustin Raymond versus Western Light was or had Absolution by the Pretty Reckless on it. And I was ecstatic for that because I am a big Pretty Reckless fan. I'm a big Taylor Momsen fan. And I love their music. And it just seemed really fitting for the set and the tone. And not only was that theme song the official theme song for Call of Duty 11, but also Zombie by the Pretty Reckless was another like subsidiary theme for it was the Cannon versus Majigeta USW Championship match video package. So a lot of Pretty Reckless tonight. I believe 3 Days Grace had another theme song that was used for Derek Carter versus Morbid, and Ash versus Washington had, if I can remember, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Give it away. Red Hot Chili Peppers "Give It Away" was the song used for. I really need to get blinds, but it was the song used for the Ash versus Washington match, which was awesome because I don't know, the song just felt really fitting overall. You know what? I'll be right back. Better? Kind of. There we go. Better. Hopefully. All right. Now that we've gotten that situation fixed up. All right, so we got through the theme songs. The first match on the night was James versus Ajax, which was one of something there. Was one of the considered filler matches on the card, kind of like those. All right, just to get a couple more matches in there. Um, it was also really what felt like a filler match was because, or the reason why I felt like a filler match was because James was being pushed a little bit. However, Ajax was kind of shoveled in there at the last minute. Excuse me. So that's what kind of gave it that feel. However, the match was incredible. It's between James versus Ajax and Alex Merton versus Jake Porter for the match of the night. Um, this match went on for a good 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and it had everything. It had high flying spots. It had lockups. It had brawls. It had counters galore. Um, it had finisher after finisher being kicked. It was the greatest match to start off the night. I honestly consider this the match of the night. James versus Ajax really delivered more than it was expected to. James played a crucial role in kind of slowing down his tone and his work style and work ethic to kind of suit Ajax's more, chilled out, conservative pace. And just showing that he can do that and he's capable of that was just an incredible feat, and really showed how good of a wrestler he is. And the match was great. Ajax picked up the win. I predicted that James would win. Ajax won. It was a weird decision to have Ajax win, just because, I mean, with the way you've been pushing James and with the direction that Ajax has been being, maneuvered in, it was weird to kind of picture Ajax winning this match. If they're really trying to push James, then I see like James winning the next pay-per-view match just kind of build up that momentum a little bit more. But I honestly think that because they had Ajax win this match, they're going to try to start pushing him. I mean, they gave him, excuse me, sorry for that. His first pay-per-view match was against Alexander Rotten. That match ended in a no contest because of Weiler's interference. And his second pay-per-view match and his Call to Greatness debut was against James, at the biggest event. And it's kind of weird to see what the decision was. I honestly think that James should have won, but I'm not gonna complain or anything like that. It was a great match. Got my money's worth. Within the start of the night, and from that point on, we knew it was going to be a great show. However, there was some time issues that needed to really be addressed during the night. Presumably, or well, not presumably, but most notably, the fact that by the half point of the show, we only started the 7 minute or the seventh match. And to that point on, or from that point before, the Key and K's match was the shortest match, which, in my opinion, should have been the longest match. But a lot of time constraints. They really had to do damage control within the show. But James and Ajax delivered. I'm glad they got this amount of time to really thrive. It was the match of the night and a great way to start off the show. At this point, I was 0-1. And now it was 0-2 because the next match was Tall Man Chris Ross versus Blaine North. This was kind of USW's way of establishing Blaine North as a fierce, big, tall, strong competitor by putting him up against, the man noted as the biggest competitor or as the largest competitor in the promotion. Blaine North and Samuel North have really been pushed high ever since splitting up the Northern Lights, and having Samuel North win the Extreme Championship, Blaine North kind of moving in his own separate direction, succeeding in his own case. I predicted Chris Ross to win this match. I was hoping Chris Ross would win this match because it seemed like Severity was trying to push him towards the World Heavyweight Championship picture, which seems to be stacked at the moment. However, Blaine North walked out the winner. I'm kind of glad at this decision, just because Chris Ross is such a talented performer that he can build up that momentum over a little bit of a time. So this, even though it took away a lot of momentum, he can gain that back over time. He doesn't necessarily need to be back in the world championship picture now, but utilize him for a while before you put him in that world title picture. Blaine North getting the win is something brilliant, especially for the future, and it really shows how great of a long-term booker Martin Reese is by giving Blaine North the win and kind of building up a new star, homegrown talent. And I thought it was just incredible that Blaine North winning his Call to Greatness debut came at the hands of, um, excuse me, a result that I didn't predict. A lot of people, either on YouTube or Twitter or anybody that I know, predicted Blaine North to win just because of the direction I thought they were going with Chris Ross. I predicted Chris Ross to win. But I'm not mad at the fact that Blaine North won. It was a good match. It was a little bit slower than the James Ajax match, just because it's two granted athletic men, but two very large men with big physiques, going into a match where it was expected to be a brawl, between the two, and they really delivered for what they put in, and it was just a really good match overall. I forgot to rate these. It's been a while since I've done these reviews. James and Ajax was a 5-star, obviously, and Chris Ross and Blaine North, I'll give it a 3. 3 is my normal. Like it was good. It was a good match. 4 was great. 5 is incredible. 2 is like below par or under average, and 1 is like, okay, get this off my screen. I give this a 3. They did what they could, and it really was a good match. I liked how their paces matched up well, their styles meshed up well, and I'm looking forward to Blaine North's singles run over this point in time, and I'm looking forward to what Martin Reese has planned for Chris Ross, because he's already an established star. He's been out of the world title picture since he was the world champion back in 2013, and I'm really looking forward to what both of these men do in the future, and in time to come. So Blaine North won that match. I was 0-2, and things did not get better for me, as the next match was Hernasli versus Drew Akron. I predicted Hernasli to win this match. I don't know why, but I picked Hernasli to win this match. If anybody knows, the way to hype up what happened at the end of the night would be to lose earlier in the night, then yeah, I should have seen this coming. But I didn't, because I thought they were pushing Hernasli a bit higher, which they ultimately did by the end of the night. And Drew Akron just hasn't had a direction in a while. He's been kind of like that guy who's sought after, getting into the mid card, or becoming noticed, and he's just been like another face in the crowd that is just trying to make themselves noticed. And in USW, it's happened very, very rarely that a guy, in the lower to mid cards, or lower mid cards and low, cards, have really gotten elevated to the mid card or main event level because of their own drive to succeed. I mean, it happened a couple times with Clyde going in that poorly written invasion angle to winning the world title, and of course being where he is at now. Crimson Red, who was in that mid card level and straddling in that lower level until the fans started getting behind him, and then he got his moment. It happened with Ash and Anarchy when they got elevated into the blue belt title picture, and then they started going off after that. It's happened with Samuel North and Blaine North, kind of starting out in that lower level and rising up. So it's happened before, and it really just didn't seem like Drew Akron was that kind of guy to just rise up. He just seemed like a bland character, a bland guy, and ultimately feeding Hernasli to Drew Akron, because Drew Akron did win. I went 0-3 at this point. It was kind of strange, because at first I thought, well, why give Drew Akron a win over the 2013 King Case champion, or I'm sorry, King Case holder and future world heavyweight champion? Why give that win to a guy whose character is as bland as Drew Akron's? And I thought, all right, well, let's see what happens in the future. Maybe Drew Akron will get a push. Maybe he'll get a new gimmick. Maybe he'll get a new face, a new persona. Maybe he'll be less of this bland character that's just straddling around in the mid card, or I'm sorry, in the lower card, and maybe he'll rise to the mid card at some point in time, kind of like Dustin Raymond and Dwayne Porter did at some point. And you never know. We'll see. I mean, Drew Akron is supposedly the brother of Philip Akron, which doesn't really help out now that Philip Akron's on intensity and Drew Akron's on severity. But maybe they're driving something through there. But Drew Akron won this match. It wasn't bad. I'll give it 3 stars. Hernastley really played a good role. A lot of close kickouts, a lot of counters, a lot of great offense, and 3 stars definitely worthy to this match. And I went 0-3 at this point in time. Now we go into the first championship match of the night, and they started out with the new Cruiserweight Championship, with the first champion being crowned at Called Greatness 11 in the finals of the Cruiserweight Championship tournament. Alex Martin went against Jake Porter. I predicted for Alex Martin to win, and my reason for that was because Alex Martin could bring some prestige to this championship, make it mean something to me. Not saying Jake Porter couldn't do that, but what I meant, or for my prediction of Alex Martin to win this match to come off as, was me showing that the Cruiserweight Championship would have a much more appealing effect on performers of the roster if a performer who's fought for the World Championship, fought for the tag team titles, had held it at one point. That didn't come to be. Jake Porter won the match, and he is the first ever and current Cruiserweight champion. I liked the choice. The match was great. 4 stars. Their styles really meshed well together. Both high flyers put on a great show, and the ending was incredible. If you didn't see it live, it was on pay-per-view. This is the first. I forgot to mention this at the top of the review, but this is the first USW pay-per-view to ever be broadcasted on live pay-per-view, a television pay-per-view. And it may be the last, because it did go overtime and USW had to book a whole another 15 or 30 minutes to kind of make up for the time that was lost due to the first half broken. Due to the first half of the show. But Optimum, you were the only carriers of the USW pay-per-view. And a lot of customers actually reviewed it as a good show. A lot of polls say, was Called Greatness a good show? I believe the voting was 71% said yes and 29% said no. But either way, it was the first pay-per-view to be broadcasted on pay-per-view. And if you didn't see it live, sorry for rambling on. The ending of the match was when Alex Martin went for that hang time elbow or whatever. I forgot what he called it. I think it was a unique wind or something like that. And Jake Porter countered it into one of those triangle hold submissions or whatever, and made Alex Martin tap out. So Jake Porter won the match clean. He's the new Cruiserweight champion. Congratulations to him. The match was great. As I said, 4 stars. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Jake Porter does with the Cruiserweight Championship. I'm hearing rumors that Alex Martin won't be going after the Cruiserweight Championship from here on. It was really a way to get that Cruiserweight Championship tournament noticed a bit. Alex Martin's seemingly going to be moving on to bigger things, probably the International Championship. Excuse me. Or maybe just a couple mid-card feuds before going to the World Championship. But he's got championships in his sight. The thing is, Jake Porter is a great performer, a great star, and I'm looking forward to what he does with the Cruiserweight Championship. Like, I could predict that Alex Martin would be, the guy that everybody wanted to dethrone at the Cruiserweight Champion or at the Cruiserweight division. He would be at the top, and as an experienced performer, multi-time tag team champion, world championship contender, USW championship contender in the past. He could bring a lot of prestige to the title. However, Jake Porter now can bring that common entity of I'm the underdog to his matches, which can bring a lot of notoriety to the Cruiserweight Championship. So I'm looking forward to what Jake Porter does with the title. I'm looking forward to what both performers do from here on out. It was a great match, and I'm 0-4 at this point in time. Next was Simon Saint versus Wolf Granger, and I went 0-5 at this point in time because I predicted Wolf Granger to win. Simon Saint won. This kind of annoyed me a little bit. Severity has been building Wolf Granger up as an unstoppable monster, just a dominant performer who takes no shit and gives no shit back. He just likes to beat people up. And they put him with with this gimmick, this persona, and they had him put up against Simon Saint. Now this match could have been, this match was Wolf Granger's Call Greatness debut, which, like a lot of performers on the card, was the case. And I felt like a win here would have done a lot more for the long-term booking of Wolf Granger. But Simon Saint won, so it makes me think, all right, well, the next match that Wolf Granger has, they're probably going to try to give him a little bit more momentum, or a little bit of momentum, kind of gain it back from what he lost at Call to Greatness, and put him and build him towards, the World Championship picture, which is what I think he's going to go at soon because, he's just such a dominant performer, and he's actually a really good wrestler as well. It also makes me wonder what Simon Saint's got in store for him because he hasn't been utilized all too much. And Martin Reese has said he wanted to use some of those talented guys like Simon Saint, like Clyde, like Otis Crane, like Mika Jordan, like Jake Porter, like Hernastley, and all these other guys. And it makes me wonder if something's in the works for Simon Saint. If so, then that's great. I'm looking forward to it. But if not, then this was really pointless. I honestly doubt that it's not going to have an effect on the long-term booking for Simon Saint. They must have a reason for giving Simon Saint this win. But I hope it's a good one because this is a match that Wolf Ranger could have really used, could have helped him boost up as a dominant performer on the Severity roster, and I'm just hoping that this build-up is worth it. I'm hoping this win for Simon Saint is worth it, and this match was a 3-star match. Next match was the Key and Case match, and this is where my whole, luck chain turned around. It was Amor versus Otis Crane versus Crimson Red versus Fernandez versus Clyde versus Titanfall. A lot of great spots on this in this match. I predicted Crimson Red to win. He did win, so Crimson Red is your 2016 Key and Case holder. The thing, though, is that let's just run down the list. Crimson Red, over with the fans, obvious choice to win the match. Then you have his opponents. Amor had a great rivalry with Hernastley in the works, didn't come to fruition. It was scrapped. Otis Crane is doing nothing. Fernandez is doing nothing. Clyde is doing nothing. Titanfall is not doing much. Crimson Red was the only valuable contender here, which made the match a little bit too predictable from the get-go. Now, of course, this match gave a lot of performers a chance to show their talent. Amor's dive from the ladder outside the ring and onto like 3 guys. Titanfall's excuse me, multiple headbutts to Otis Crane before I think it was Fernandez that picked him off the ladder and hit him with like an enziguri. A lot of great moments, a lot of ways to show their own talent. But the problem with this match, even though it was a great match, 3-star worthy, was that it was really, really too predictable from the get-go. That kind of buzzed it down a little bit for me. The fact that Crimson Red was the only performer eligible or really that really mattered in this match kind of made it a little less appealing since you kind of already knew who was going to win. Um, and even though they put on a great match, it still kind of floundered a little bit in my mind just because it was too predictable. And sometimes when you know the end of the story and it's too predictable, and at the end of the story your prediction comes to fruition, it's like, well, I saw that coming the entire time. It was really too obvious. It kind of takes away, it taints the experience for you, and that's what happened here. But still a great match, 3 stars. Probably would have been 4 stars had the performers actually had some either momentum or some reason to be thought of as a legit contender to win the match. But either way, 1-5 on the night at that point in time. And then we had Alexander Rotten versus Weiler, which was another really good match. I predicted Weiler to win. Weiler did win, thank God. Um, but this kind of makes me wonder whether this match, this feud is going to go over and extend into future time. This is the first match of their feud, and I don't see it ending soon. I think it's going to span into the next Intensity pay-per-view. Well, I'm sorry, the next combined pay-per-view, which would be Warzone, because that's the next Intensity pay-per, or that's the next pay-per-view Intensity will be on. It's like a combination between Severity and Intensity, as I've heard. Um, I'm hoping that Alexander Rotten isn't affected negatively or all too negatively by this match. But it was also kind of weird in the first place, ever since No Remorse. Alexander Rotten, lost the USW championship to Zach Hardy, myself, and never really invoked a rematch. And he's entitled to a rematch for the USW championship, and he's never put his rematch down. He should be in the USW Championship picture, yet here he is, at No Remorse, facing this guy in a filler match, Ajax, just to start a rivalry with Weiler, go into Called Greatness 11, the biggest event of the year, and just lose to Weiler. His momentum's really derailed, and it brings down his character. But I mean, even though Weiler really needed this win after being buried for a while and getting injured and being off television for a while, or programming for a while, Weiler needed this win. Alexander Rotten kind of needed this win. And it was really like you backed yourself into a corner here. I'm glad Weiler won. He needed it more. He was buried by myself, sadly. He was buried by the other guys that he wrestled with. He was injured by one of them and was off programming for about a good month and a half, 2 months because of it. And once he healed, he came back, and now he's facing Alexander Rotten. He wins the match at Called Greatness, his Called Greatness debut, and that's about it. I'm honestly thinking this match, will either go one of two ways. It'll be a 2-match feud where Weiler wins the next match, and then Alexander Rotten calls it quits, or it's going to be a 3-match thing where Alexander Rotten wins the next match and Weiler wins the third, or Alexander Rotten wins the third. You never know, but I mean, this feud is not going to end here. I can already assure you that. I don't know. I'm hoping that Alexander Rotten's momentum and or push or drive or whatever isn't taken back too far. I hope he's not scaled too far back into the mid card picture, because he really should be in that main event scene. On the Intensity roster, Cannon's there, Morbid's there, Derek Carter's there, Majigeta's there, and Alexander Rotten really should be there to kind of fit it in that whole 5-person main event picture. I mean, in Severity, you now have Hernastley, which I'll get to later. Then you have Dustin Raymond, you have Western Light, you have Prophecy and Lone Wolf. And you have these guys, and they're main eventers, and you have your five stacked out. Intensity is missing that kind of that the fifth person to rely on, and Alexander Rodden really should be that fifth person. Enough with that you know bicker on that. 3-star match. Now, this next match was obviously the worst match of the night. And this is where they started doing damage control because at this point in time, they had just finished their 7th match. They had gone over halfway and they were 2 off from being halfway through their card. So they really needed to cut down on the match times, especially since you had quite a few matches left that really needed a lot of time. So they started doing damage control, and they started with this. It was the Global Tag Team Championship match. George Martin and Paul Orlando beat the Surfers and the Painters to retain the Global Tag Team Championships, and this is it. They threw the Painters out of the ring and then hit the Surfers with their finishing maneuver, 1, 2, 3, and the match is over within 25 seconds. This was just, I mean, A, a 1-star match, but B, a bad case of poor time management. You have this promising match for the Global Tag Team Championships, a new championship belt established very recently that needed to be pushed a bit to gain some notoriety, to gain some notice, and to make it worth something. And you didn't do that. Instead, on the biggest event of them all, you had this tag team championship match for tag team titles that are relatively new, still need to be, given a prestigious, thought towards, and you give them a 25-second match. That's just horrible. The WWE women got that match, or got more time than that on their matches back in like 2013, 2014, 2012, 2011, back when WWE didn't even think the women really mattered. This is just sad. It was a blatant case of poor time management, and that falls on the hands of USW management. So enough of that topic. Paul Orlando and George Martin are still the tag team champions, and who knows where the future goes on from there. Next match was Capital versus Seth. By the way, George Martin, Paul Orlando, I got that match predicted correctly. Capital versus Seth, I predicted Seth to win. Seth did win. It was a good match. Both performers really meshed up well, like they always have. Excuse me. It was a really, a really cool reemergence of the Capital versus Seth feud from like 2014, 2015 for the World Championship, but this time without the world title. And it was just a great match. It was 4-star worthy, first off. Capital's powerhouse, style meshed well with Seth's technical wrestling and high flying. Excuse me. It was just a great match overall. Both performers really showed their talent. You had a lot of moments where, excuse me, you just thought, this could go either way. And luckily for me, Seth won the match. I like how the World Championship picture just and severity keeps getting bigger. Seth and Capital are now involved in the World Championship picture. Chris Ross will probably be soon. And the same could be stated for Wolf Ranger. Same could be said for Lone Wolf, or Prophecy, or Anarchy, or Dustin Raymond, Western Light, Hern Astley. All these guys have a chance at the World Championship. You're building up a great picture for the championship and for the title, and really Severity's doing it all right. Seth won the match. I'm glad he won the match. He doesn't need as much momentum, or he didn't need the win as much as Capital needed the win. But this is another case of like the Alexander Rodden and Weiler feud, where Capital and Seth are going to be facing off in numerous matches. It's not going to end here. They're probably going to have a match at No Remorse. They're probably going to have a match at Warzone the week after, and probably until that pay-per-view afterwards that they have and they both share. But I really like their styles. I thought it really matched up well. 4 stars. I'm looking forward to seeing what they both do with this feud from here on out. I hope they can make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more entertaining than it already is. And hopefully it can get to the main event level where it rightfully deserves. This is one of my most hyped or most looked forward to matches of the night, and it paid off. So Seth wins that match. Next match was for the Extreme Championship. Samuel North defended the title against Morgan Anthony. Again, more case of damage control. The only weapons that were used were a chair, and Morgan Anthony got put through a table. Samuel North won the match. I predicted him to win the match. He retained the Extreme Championship. 2-star match. Really, damage control got into extreme effect here, and the match only went about 3 to 4 minutes. Excuse me, which really brings down the prestige of the Extreme Championship, but I'll get into that later on. I enjoyed what they did with Samuel North and how he's holding on to the Extreme Championship. I think this feud will last one more match where Samuel North will probably retain the Extreme Championship. Morgan Anthony, I think, is starting to head into like the upper mid card level with the blue belt championship picture. He's kind of established himself as a legitimate threat to the mid carders, and I like where he's going. I like how Samuel North has the title around his waist. It's kind of like a great way to build him up after the split of the Northern Lights and really put him out and bring him out and branch him out as a singles competitor. I like what they're doing with him. I'm looking forward to what both men do, and here's to them and their future. Next match was the three ways match. It was Anarchy versus Prophecy versus Lone Wolf, and I predicted Lone Wolf to win, of course. This match was really good. It was 10 minutes long, which was less time than I was hoping for, but it was a good amount of time. It had enough of time to really prove as a great match. It was like one of the first starting the first main events of the night. Getting into the main event level, before scaling it back and then kicking into high gear, and both men did really well. Or I'm sorry, not both men. All three men did really well. A lot of great breakups of the pins, a lot of false counts, and a lot of one man taking down two man situations. The chair was utilized, the pipe was utilized, the commentary table was even utilized, and I really enjoyed what they did. Lone Wolf came out the winner, and Lone Wolf really needed it. I think this is where they put Prophecy and Lone Wolf, and maybe even Anarchy, into the World Championship picture as well. Kind of build up that world title picture as something meaningful. Make it something other than the secondary world title in the promotion, and really make it mean something. I like what Severity's doing. I like what Martin Reese is doing, and I'm more than happy with this pick of Lone Wolf winning the match. 4 stars. Next match was for the International Championship. Mika Jordan defended the title against Yo-Yo Joe in Yo-Yo Joe's first pay-per-view match back on USW programming. He had been off since his wife had his daughter. I believe 3 or 4 months ago, and came back to work. The match was great. Mika Jordan, excuse me, really showed to be what a great heel he was in his his Call to Greatness debut. He would do these small little snarky heelish things, like when he needs to regroup, he'll just leave the ring and just stood around by his time. Utilize the count out or utilize the count. He'd really utilize the 5 count, especially when Yo-Yo Joe would get to the ropes. However, one big mistake that he made was when he went to the top rope, went for a crossbody, missed, kind of contorted his body in midair, rolled out, and then tried to do a senton or a standing senton or a running senton into Joe, but Joe caught him, hit the string effect on him really quickly. 1, 2, 3. Match is over after 10 minutes. Yo-Yo Joe is your new international champion. This feud is probably going to extend into No Remorse, where you're probably going to get a rematch for the international championship between Mika Jordan and Yo-Yo Joe. I like what they're doing with Joe and Jordan. I like what Jordan has available for him in the future, whether it's a mid-card run or a world title entry or a main event run. He's a great performer, very athletic, very talented. He's a great wrestler, and I think Yo-Yo Joe is now going to be able to bring some more prestige to the international championship, especially now that it's just brand exclusive to Severity. And I think he's going to be able to be a really good mid-card leader on that brand. So here's to the future as coffee spills all over my laptop. Whoops. All right. And that match was a good 4 stars. Well, no, I'll give it 3 stars. It was kind of slow paced from the beginning because of Mika Jordan's heelish tactics. And then next match was Ash versus Washington. The match went on for a good 15 minutes. I'm glad they got that much time on. This is where they really got into danger of, like, they entered the 3rd hour. You really needed to make something quick of it. And at that point in time, they really didn't care anymore. Um, um, Ash is a great performer. He's been a very gifted um, wrestler on USW. He's been the guy that everybody sees as a mid carder, but kind of deep down wants to become a main event player. Um, and he really showed what talent he had against Washington. Both Washington and Ash have come a long way since their debuts. You know, Ash starting in the mid cards, going to the blue belt title picture, having a long run with Anarchy in the blue belt title picture, then falling into limbo, and then getting this push into a mid card run. And Washington, since his debut in December of 2014, has went from just being that guy, that just showed up out of nowhere, and then going into the Extreme Championship picture with Titanfall and Crimson Red and was it MC4? I think it was MC4. And just going through that, and then really showing and proving himself, progressing and having a greater persona than he started out with, less of the bland Washington and more of the I want to prove myself Washington, which put him in the main event picture and gave him this moment. Call the Greatness 11 will probably be known as the night that Washington proved himself as a main event talent to USW. He was a great performer. Both these guys matched up really well. 5-star match. And I just loved every single second of it. Ash came out the winner. I don't know if this will become a feud over the next couple of weeks. There's a good chance that Ash and Washington will start a feud. There could also be a good chance that they go their separate ways. I hear there's talks of Majigeta versus Ash. There's also talks about Washington versus Cannon, kind of putting him in the USW Championship picture. There's been all these kinds of talks, and whatever they do, I'm looking forward to whatever is to come, and let's hope it's good. Next match was for the USW Tag Team Championships, and it was Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin defending the titles against the Tyler Brothers and Indigo Reaction. This was the first match that I got predicted wrong, or that I predicted wrong in a while at this point in time. I predicted for Indigo Reaction to win this match. I just thought it was a good time for Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin to drop the titles after holding them since the beginning of 2015, losing them at Call to Greatness 11, the biggest event of the year. Didn't come out to be. Benny Franklin, Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin won the match. They retained the USW Tag Team Championships in a really great three-ways tag team match for the titles. Excuse me. Obviously, the USW Tag Team Championships are the big tag team championships in the promotion, the bigger tag team championships in the promotion. And I like what they're doing by just so subtly and so slowly inching Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin towards a heel turn, towards that heel run, and they're trying to make them a despised tag team, one that the fans want to see lose the titles. And I think they're doing a really good job of that. They're really making a slow, agonizing burn, but it's so worth it because the end result's going to be just incredible. I can already feel it. Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin with this match. It's a 3-star worthy match. Moving on to the Blue Belt Championship match, where Dwayne Porter defended the title against Xavier King. Dwayne Porter won in what was a 3-star match. It was a really good match. I like how Dwayne Porter is going to start another run in the mid-cards with the Blue Belt Championship. That's practically the Dwayne Porter Championship by now. Let's just rename it and everything. But I like what Dwayne Porter's doing. I hear that they're trying to push Xavier King into mid-card status, mid-card level feuds, kind of build up his worth towards the promotion and towards the intensity roster, etc. I like what they're doing. I like how they're inching it closer. And that's my thought on that 3-star match. And this is where we get into the main event, and this is where we get into the ecstatic finishes. To start off the main events, big main events. The USW Championship match, Cannon versus Majigeta for the USW Championship. What a good match. This was a 5-star match. And it seemed at the end like, and of course, Cannon versus Majigeta was a great match. They always have great matches. But what happened at the end was really the what the fuck just happened moment of probably the year. Majigeta hits the decapitator. However, when he pins him a little bit awkwardly, and Cannon like gets his foot on the ropes, but the referee doesn't see it. Counts at 1, 2, 3. Looks like Majigeta is your new USW champion, but then hold up, Kyle Reese Jr. comes out and announces that since his foot was on the bottom rope and it is called a greatness, you can't just end this USW championship match on some Ribe bullshit. So he restarts the match. Cannon hits the cannonball backflip after the drop kick. 1, 2, 3. Cannon retains the USW championship. Majigeta is pissed. Majigeta feels like wronged, and that it looks like they're going to start something between Majigeta and Kyle Reese Jr. It looks like it. Probably not going to happen because Kyle Reese Jr. has already come out and stated that he's not a wrestler. He doesn't want to be a wrestler. He's wrestled all that he can in his life. He just wants to be the the owner. He wants to be the guy in charge, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it looks like there's going to be like a Majigeta versus like the authority figure feud here, and I'm looking forward to what Cannon does with the USW Championship. This is his fourth reign. I believe it's his fourth reign as the USW champion, which is getting close to my record of 6 reigns. But I just really enjoy what Cannon does with the title and what he does with any title and what he does with any feud. He's a really great performer, so charismatic, such a great character, and both these men have a great future ahead of them in the Intensity roster. I like how they're leading it. I like how they're in charge of it, and it's just great. So Cannon retains the USW Championship. Derek Carter versus Morbid. This became a major talking point within Morbid and his time with USW, because Morbid now has lost 3 consecutive Call of Greatness events since starting out 7-0. I beat him at Call of Greatness 9. Zach Hardy won. He was 7-1. Western Light beat him at Call of Greatness 10, 7-2. Derek Carter beat Morbid at Call of Greatness 11, 7-3. The undefeated streak is a thing of the past. Morbid is now becoming less of like that part-time wrestler that he's always been, but nobody's really acknowledged it. And he's getting into a more regular role. And he has been since, like before Final Chapter, getting into this feud with Washington and then getting into the feud with Ash and now, the feud with Derek Carter. And, they're saying that they want to give him a USW title run, which is fine, but he's really lost a lot of what made him known. That streak that he had going in Call of Greatness, they compared it to The Undertaker, which there's just no comparison to The Undertaker, but he's like the modern day Undertaker to the USW brand. A lot of fans are questioning whether Morbid should stay with USW or not, since he's been the guy to put over a lot of other performers. Personally, he puts in a great contribution towards the promotion. I don't think they should let him go. I don't think they should have him or agree to let him go. But Morbid is just a great wrestler. He is such a hard worker. And I'm kind of glad Derek Carter won this match. I'll say it right now because Derek Carter is being pushed as the superstar on Intensity. He's being pushed as the modern day Zach Hardy now that there's no Zach Hardy. He's being thought of as the face of USW now that Zach Hardy's gone. And it's great. He's a dominant threat. He's a main eventer. He is the thing. He is the result. He is what you get when you combine fighting a bear and the concept of kicking someone in the bloody face. Pardon my British. But he is a great performer. He's a great talent. He's obviously going to be the face for as long as he's there. And with this win, he's able to say, I did what only 2 other people were able to do. And one of them is still here. I beat Morbid at Cult of Greatness. And he can use that to his advantage from here on out. I like what they're doing. I like how Morbid is kind of putting some guys over. He's 34 years old. He might not be wrestling for much longer, and I'm surprised the WWE hasn't picked him up yet, to be honest, or Ring of Honor, or TNA, or NJPW, or CZW, any promotion that's not USW. I'm surprised. But I like what they're doing with both performers. It's great, and it really suits their roles. So that match was, yeah, I'll even give it 5 stars because it was another great match. Then we get into the main event of the evening, the cage match between Dustin Raymond and Western Light for the World Heavyweight Championship that at the time was being held by Dustin Raymond. A lot of great saves from the cage, a lot of suplexes from the cage, a lot of, well, there was actually a suplex where Dustin Raymond picked Western Light out from outside the cage back into the center of the ring. Both men were beaten down. And then the big spot of the night came when Western Light pulled Dustin Raymond down from the cage wall and hit him with a lantern out of nowhere, climbed the cage, escaped, won the match, won the World Heavyweight Championship. Western Light wins at Call to Greatness in the main event, gets in the ring to hold the title up and celebrates. And then, as I predicted, her Nastly's music hits. Finally, everybody thinks he's about to come down and bank in the 2013 key in case. He's held it for 3 years. It's about time he gives it down. But what happens? He runs in the ring, gets hit with a giant boot from Western Light, taken down, hit with a DDT. Stunned. In the corner, he takes the key in case, take it, shoves it into the referee. The ref gives it, calls for the bell, the match starts, and they legitimately fight. Western Light is tired, but he's still got a chance because Hernasly's, not as strong as him, not as in great physical condition as he is. He's not as tall as him, he's not as heavy as him. But Hernasly's beaten down. He's hurt now. Western Light put down a pummeling on him. Everybody thinks Western Light's going to do it. He's going to take Hernasly's spot down that he's been waiting for 3 years. Then out of nowhere, kick to the gut, and then goes into the ropes, gets put into the lantern position, fights out, shoves the referee down by accident, and then low blows Western Light, hits him with a case, referee sees him, counts the 1, 2, 3, shock of the night, shock of the year. Hernasly walks out the World Heavyweight Champion. Finally, he does it. Finally, you now have a star heel carrying your championship on severity. Props to them. Great writing. Dustin Raymond and Western Light, I've heard, are going to start fighting Hernasly for the World Championship, kind of start this whole 3-way feud. I don't know how you're going to go about booking that, but I'm looking forward to it. All in all, that was the cage match was 4 stars. And the Hernasly Western Light match was 3 stars because it went along long enough for me to give it a proper rating. Excuse me. And that was Call to Greatness 11 in a nutshell. One of the best wrestling shows the USW has ever put on. One of the best Call to Greatnesses of all time. 3 years in a row that we've had a great Call to Greatness. And I'm really looking forward to what they do at Call to Greatness 12, which is currently 366 days away. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. That was my Call to Greatness 11 review. Remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more. Well, before that, if you have any questions for the Hardy Questions and Answers series, send them to my email at unitards@gmail.com, unitards with 2 Z's at the end, @gmail.com, or send them to me on Twitter at Zachary Sarah, or leave them in the YouTube comments below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more. I'm Zach Hardy, signing off.